Hi, this is Kathy Garland, and I'm the host of the Writing Hub podcast. And today, my guest is Tracy McDermott. Welcome, Tracy.
Thank you, Cappy. Glad to be here.
Tracy McDermott is an award winning artist and writer from Minneapolis whose visual artwork focuses on plein air landscapes in oil and urban sketching in ink and watercolor. In addition, Tracy is known for expressive and character driven pet portraits that go beyond likeness, revealing personality and emotional connection. I would say that about everything about Tracy, that you'll always find an emotional connection with her. Her style often blends realism with abstraction, capturing both the detail and energy of a moment. Whether painting outdoors or in the studio, Tracy's work is all about observation, expression, and bringing scenes and subjects to life. So, Tracy, we've known each other for over 20 years, and it's always been fun to see your art journey and all the wonderful things you do. And your pet portraits really reveal the soul or the real character of the pet that you're painting. Something in you opened up and lit up when you found urban sketching. So I want to talk about all of it. And urban sketching is such a huge trend now. I want our listeners to know about it because it could be something that could open them up on their personal journey. I want to bring people back to themselves, to their true selves, to their inner spirit. And I feel like a lot of that is opened up with you
Mm.
in the last few years. Can you talk about that?
I'm so glad to be here. And this is a subject that I'm really passionate about, especially where it touches the visual arts, because the visual arts, for whatever reason, are so frightening to people when they're adults. Almost every child I've ever known, you hand them a crayon, a coloring book, a piece of paper, a pencil, and they just wander off and happily delve into creating little pictures that represent their lives. I mean, the iconic picture of a child who draws their family as stick figures, every kid does that. That's what we're wired to do is go out, observe, and capture our lives in words and pictures. I guess this is why I'm passionate about urban sketching, because urban sketching is the most easily accessible art form that an adult can delve into right now. All you need is a pencil, an eraser, and a piece of paper. Everything else is just gravy, and you can use anything else you want. And you just start where you are, and where you are literally sitting right now. You could start where you are with whatever you have at hand. And so I enjoy encouraging people to do that. And it makes me feel sad at the number of people that I encounter who say things like, I have no talent. I could never do what you do. And I say to everyone, and I'll say it to anyone listening right now, I don't believe in talent. I don't believe that that matters, especially with urban sketching, especially with visual arts. And that sometimes takes people aback when I say that. I don't believe that in talent. And I like to jokingly say, if you hand a 2-year-old a saxophone and it blows a note and it's not going to be a good note, do you take the saxophone away from the baby and say, well, this one has no talent? No. You get lessons. You have hours of practice. You keep working at it if you truly desire to play a saxophone until you know how and until you're good at enough at it that it satisfies you. The visual arts are no different. All it takes is desire, some instruction, the right tools, and time. So, you know, that's how I respond to that question to try to help people get over the hump. But for whatever reason, and I've been trying to unpack this, still people are reticent. Still, people who have been sketching next to me for weeks, they're hesitant. They don't want to show their sketches. They don't want to share what they've been doing. And I've been trying to unpack what that's about too. And I think a lot of that just boils down to this mythology around visual arts that in order to be an artist, we have to sell our work. We have to be judged by other people who say that this is good art. And all of that's hogwash, all of it.
You use the word judging, and really, that is one of the biggest barriers for people because sometime when we were young and tender, someone told us we didn't do it right or something. And so then we reject all of our, maybe not all of it, but at least perhaps the visual arts expression of who we are. In art, writing, art is an expression. Is there a writing part to urban sketching?
There is a writing part, or I would say a word association part anyway, with all the art that I do. And I think back to early teachers in plein air painting and portrait painting, other sorts of painting that I've had. My instructors would always say, title this painting before you begin. And the purpose for that is to stay in touch with what it is that calls you to draw or paint this subject in front of you. And so you want to keep that focus in mind the whole time that you're working. So in that way, the words and pictures do work with each other.
One of the things that occurs to me when you're talking, you do plein air.
Mhm.
And actually, the background that is behind me is one of Tracy's oil plein air pieces. So, plein air and urban sketching, both, you have to be so present
Mhm.
to capture those moments. Can you talk about that?
Yeah. That is exactly what it's about. I know early on in learning how to be an artist, I worked from photographs like most artists do, and painstakingly tried to recreate what I saw in a photograph. But over time, as you work on photographs, you get frustrated. And what you learn is that what we see in a photograph is a very poor representation of life. Photography, just the nature of the machinery in photography, it flattens things out. It evens out all the colors in the spectrum so that, it's what the aperture does and what the mechanics of the camera is built to do to get us a really good representation, but it's never ever true to life. And I really started to see that when I would be out looking for places to paint, and I'd think, "Oh, just look at that. Look at that beautiful light. Look at that beautiful sky. Oh, I just have to paint this, but I don't have any time, so I'm just gonna take a picture." And I would take a dozen or more pictures in a day, and I go back home, and then I excitedly open up my phone, and I'd think, "Oh, fantastic. I can hardly wait to do these scenes that I saw today." Not one of these pictures looked like anything inspiring that I was seeing with my naked eye. Our human eyes see so much more color, so much more emotion, if you will, even in the landscape, in the world around us. And, it's because it's just our eyes aren't cameras. Well, they're wired into an entire emotional and thinking machine in our brains. And so when we're out sketching or painting or drawing something right in front of us, our eyes and our brains work together to bring the things that are most important into real focus and vivid color. And even if you think about it right now, you have all this peripheral vision and everything in your peripheral vision is a little bit misty and it's not in high definition. You're aware of the things that are out here to the side, but you can't see them. That doesn't happen when you take a photograph of something. When you take a photograph, everything within the viewfinder is in the same level of relief, is, the same importance. So I think that's what draws me to work from life as much as I can.
I want to share one of your pet portraits. Talk about what you notice through the painting that pet, that beautiful dog laying on the owner's.
Owner's Peg.
Yeah.
So it's one of the challenges of painting living things and animals in particular is they just don't sit still for us long enough. So this is one of the cases in which I have to work from a photograph. And when I'm painting pet portraits, I try to get dozens of photographs and I try to get them myself rather than have other people send them to me. And in particular, I need to know a lot about that animal, and it helps if I actually have spent time with that animal, so I have a sense of who that animal is and what his character is. In the case of the portrait you were looking at, it's a little dog named Frankie. I was his pet sitter for a number of different occasions, and I got to know him pretty well. And he was quite old and not long for this world at the time. So I thought, I'm going to capture a lot of photographs of Frankie until I find one that really will allow me to capture and convey the spirit within him for his owners when he's no longer with us. The significance of that picture to me was Frankie's soulful eyes and the connection and the bond that he had with humans. He was one of us. And so by placing his little face resting on the blue jean leg of his carer, it allowed me to convey that, the connection that Frankie has with humans.
Yes,
His
it's
plump
beautiful.
down. He was just an adorable little fella.
His spirit comes through in your painting, which is so amazing to me. I will put it in the show notes. So, pet portraits has been a passion for a long time. Did you get involved in plein air and urban sketching along about the same time?
No, I started plein air painting in the early, I would say around 2011.
Okay.
I was introduced to that idea by an artist friend in California. And from the moment that I began plein air painting, I never looked back. I never wanted to go back and paint from a photograph because I saw how dead my paintings were and how much I was missing by not painting from life.
That is such a great metaphor, really, for how to live life. Be in it, not just be an observer. And your ability to observe, I'll say, is what makes your paintings so phenomenal, so beautiful. You participate, it's the Grand Marais Plein Air Society.
Yeah, I participate in the Outdoor Painters of Minnesota, which is a plein air painting group based in Minnesota. And every year they put on a plein air Grand Marais, which is a week-long festival of outdoor painting that culminates in a big show that's up in Grand Marais at their art gallery up there. And the show hangs for about a month after Grand Marais finishes. So it's a big deal to participate in it. It's a wonderful thing. If you're not an artist, just to get up there at that time of year and see the hundreds of paintings that these fantastic artists that I admire are painting in the environment that they're in.
Because the scenery and the landscapes are so beautiful at that time of year.
It's wild and raw and just at the end of summer, the the seasons are about to change. It's right there on the precipice of going into autumn. So pretty.
It's one of the best times in Minnesota.
Mhm.
Tell me more about you are super involved in organizing groups, getting groups started, mentoring people in urban sketching. Talk to me about that. So for listeners, I have been on an urban sketching trip with Tracy. We were in San Antonio, and there's just so much in San Antonio, and I was quite a novice, still am. Anyway, tell me how you get people involved, what you love about it, where people can find urban sketching, that sort of thing. Just talk in general about urban sketching.
Okay. Well, I started plein air painting 2011, and I continued to work in that volunteering with groups. But at some point, about 5 years ago, I just kinda hit the wall. I wasn't loving it anymore. I wasn't growing. I wasn't really wanting to paint at all. I just really lost my joy. And then came the pandemic, in which we were all kinda stuck at home for quite a while. And as that started to ease up, I needed to be outside again, and somehow I'd come across this idea of urban sketching, and I thought, "Well, that's kind of a really quick and easy thing that I could do, and it's really close to home. I don't have to travel very far. I could just do it right here in my town." So, I started to go to some of their gatherings, and these gatherings, I mean, to be an urban sketcher, you just claim that you're an urban sketcher. There is nothing to belong to. There are no dues to pay. There are is nothing to buy. It's a flash mob of people who get together and just sit down somewhere and start to sketch at a place. And I was having so much fun when I started to join these groups because of the low involvement, but it was getting me out to places that I didn't even know existed in my own town. During the winter months, they were meeting at architectural antique store or a coffee shop that was really interesting and kitschy, or museums I didn't know existed. There's a cuckoo clock museum in the heart of downtown Minneapolis. The whimsy of walking into this building with 80 other people and seeing 10,000 cuckoo clocks that are some of them going off at odd times of the hour, and we're all just sitting there fascinated at these beautiful objects and sketching these things together. It was the most fun I had had in a really long time. And so once I saw how much this did for people, and these are people from all levels of the artist journey, from people who are in their 80s who haven't picked up a pencil and drawn anything since they were 10 years old, to professional artists and architects and everything in between on the journey, all sitting together, all looking at the same thing in general, but seeing something completely different. And at the end of an Urban Sketchers event, we have what's called the Throwdown. And in Minneapolis, anyway, because we have a large group, if it's a well-attended sketch out, you might see 200 sketchbooks all thrown down on the floor, and we do a conga line and just walk through and delight in what our fellow sketchers found, what attracted them, how they captured it, and you find out that even though we're all in the same place, there is no two pairs of eyes that see things quite the same way. Our styles are as individual as handwriting, and they're hardwired into us in a sense too. So, over the years, I thought, oh, I want to paint like her, or I want to draw like him. Sorry, I'm just going to have to draw like me, because that is how it just comes out of my mind and out of my hand. So I just have fallen in love with that, and fallen in love with giving people back the joy that they had when they were children, and reaffirming to them that they are artists. We are all artists. We are born to be artists, and helping people to get the confidence to just enjoy doing this because it is just so much fun. Now this is merging my 2 passions, Outdoor Painters of Minnesota and urban sketching. Every year, Outdoor Painters of Minnesota offers a winter trip into the Boundary Waters of Minnesota in February, sometimes March. The temperatures fluctuate between 10 degrees and 20 below 0, and so 20 or 30 people show up there, and a lot of these really hardy people are going out and sometimes hiking through deep snow with their paint gear to in the wilderness.
Mm-hmm.
So I stayed inside the lodge and got my sketchbook out and just started capturing the scenes around me. The scene of the man reading, he's one of my favorite artists, Neil, and he's one of these tough guys that was hiking out with and packing out with his art kit. But he'd come in the evening and just kind of sit in a corner and quietly get his cup of coffee and relax with the book when the painting day was done. Another picture there is of my husband who came on the trip. He is not yet embraced his art side, but he likes to get out there, and he came on this trip just to see what this was all about and be with the artist friends that we've made over the years. And I was just goofing around on the page. My friend Allison had these fantastic muckluck boots that she wore out into the wilderness, and so I wanted to capture those as just an artifact from the trip that I wanted to remember.
I think that that's one of the interesting things when you were saying everybody's looks different.
Mm.
Everyone has a point of view, and for you, you wanted to make sure to show Allison's boots where somebody else might not even have seen them at all.
Exactly,
So in a way, it's a visual way to document history in a
it
way,
absolutely is
or
that.
like a visual journalism even.
And the more I think about this question, what is it about urban sketching? Why do I love urban sketching? The more I think about it, the more answers come to me. One of the answers is revolves around the idea of meditation. You, Kathy, have tried to help me to meditate and to be quiet. And I just have the hardest time. I have a busy brain that's just constantly chattering at me. But when I go out and paint or sketch, I am in a meditative zone. And sometimes it gets in the way, if you will, of the kind of style that I want to cultivate as an urban sketcher, maybe a little bit more free, maybe a little bit more loose. But because I am in this meditative state, all of this detail, the longer I sit there, the more I see and the more that just kind of shows up on the page. In urban sketching, the other thing that I really love about it, this came up a couple days ago. I was at a sketch out and the woman was looking at my sketch and she said, "Oh, have you ever thought about taking your sketches and turning these into postcards? I mean, really, this needs to be a postcard." And it came out of my mouth before I could censor anything, this immediate, "No, absolutely not." And I didn't even know why I said it that strongly or that vehemently until before her, I had to apologize and say, "Oh, I appreciate that. You're giving my artwork a compliment like that." I said, "But honestly, what I love about urban sketching is that no, I don't have to sell it. I don't have to frame it. I don't need to show it. I don't need to have it critiqued. It doesn't have to be good. It belongs to me. It is personal." And for me, for my sketchbooks, so now I have a little collection of them going back, several years. And I'll pick up one of my old sketchbooks off the shelf and I will flip through and I will look at the things that I sketched and the moments of my life that they come back to me in a way that they never would with a photograph. I will remember the hours that I sat in front of that subject. I remember how cold it was. I remember what the lodge smelled like. I remember laughing with Neil over my representation of him as a character, and little conversations come back to me. I see Allison's boots as though they are in front of me and where they were sitting up against that wall for, every day. That's how I would know Allison was back from her painting journey because her boots were there. It's a real sacred thing for me that I don't want to commercialize because that takes art back to the place that I don't want it to be, which is if nobody's paying for this, it isn't good. And therefore, I'm not good.
That's just not a place you're going to go.
I really do this because I want to share the moments of beautiful things, beautiful moments with other people, like the painting that's behind you right now, Kathy. I am so moved that you appreciate. I didn't paint it to make money off of it. I hope that whoever buys one of my paintings, they buy it because they appreciate that place, that maybe it's a place they've been, or it takes them to a place in their heart and their spirit that they want to be, or a place that they remember. Those are the things that matter to me the most. The last year that I was in the competition at Plein Air Grand Marais, where I was selling my paintings a couple of years ago, there was a little piece on the wall, and another artist friend came running over and said, "Oh, Tracy, there's a lady that wants to buy your painting. She wants to talk to you about this painting." So I went over and I talked to her, and she was an older woman and she was just about in tears looking at my painting. And she said, "This painting, I'm buying it. It takes me back to when I was a kid. This fish house that you painted here on the shore, I would play outside of this when I was a little girl with my friends." And she said, "You just captured it just how I remember it." And she said, "I just want you to know that when I die, I am passing this on to my family so that they too can appreciate Grand Marais just how it is and how it's always been, because this fish house someday will be gone, but your painting won't be." And that I would have given them, you know, I mean, that is exactly why I do what I do.
One of the things that keeps writers and artists blocked is this fear of, will it sell? Do I have to sell or whatever? But what you're talking about is getting into the emotion of the moment and letting your emotions fuel your passions.
Yeah.
And that is really important. If we're painting something to sell, there's an energy that just blocks it. But if we're painting from our heart, if we're appreciating what it is we're painting, it has an energy in it that people can't resist. And I think that is a huge lesson for people to write from the heart, to paint from the heart. Whatever it is we do, let it come from our heart, from our passions, because that energy gets transferred and then people can't help but love it, regardless of whether it would sell in a gallery or not. Somebody loves it because it speaks to them.
And really even beyond the commercialization of writing or painting or creating of any kind, when we're doing it like that, we're enriching ourselves. We are experiencing our lives. And that is what urban sketching does for me and plein air painting does for me. It allows me to experience my life because I've slowed down long enough to be in a space and to be calm and be centered within myself so that I'm aware of these moments that I'm living in.
Would you say that is your biggest learning or insight from urban sketching, or are there more? I mean, that's pretty
I would
huge.
say for me, yes. Yes. Just being able to slow down and be in my life, experience my life has been a tremendous gift. And that's something that I want to help other people experience as well.
Yes, to be present in that moment or hours or whatever it is without having to be distracted or worry about what other people are expecting from you, your other deadlines, your other pressures. Just to be in that moment. And you addressed that it's a meditative practice for you. I was leading webinar last week and I lead people in a mindful moment. And then somebody brought up the fact that, meditation is so hard for me. And we all think of meditation as the monks on the mountain, sitting up there for hours in a cross legged position and keeping their thoughts trained on whatever you're supposed to train your thoughts on when you meditate. Most of us can't do that. So, painting meditation, journaling as a form of meditation, dancing, singing, whatever it is that brings you to that present moment. For some people, it might be hiking or mountain climbing. It's that whatever connects us to that force that feels greater, that brings us into our body, but connects us to maybe a force that's greater than us.
Absolutely. That was an epiphany to me, was that, okay, maybe I'm not good at sitting and meditating,
But is, yeah.
but this for me is how I get there.
Yes. I think that's why people are so resistant to meditating is that we all feel like we have to be like a monk on a mountain. When reality, it could be sitting and observing. Like you have a beach behind you. Perhaps it's just sitting and experiencing the waves roll in and the sound and the breeze and the seagull sounds and the rushing waves and whatever else you experience. Even that can be a meditative moment. So we can also have meditative moments. I have a practice of sitting every day for 20 minutes and connecting. My thoughts race. They just do, you know. However, when I paint, when I get my paints out, something else takes over. And for me, and if somebody sees it and goes, that speaks to me, I'm happy for them to purchase it. I love the urban sketching and the plein air because it is such a place of being present. If we're working from a photograph, it takes us somewhere else. If we're conjuring up a scene in our head, we're working from our head. And it's not always that place of connection that can get us to somewhere else. They can really help us. I think it probably reduces our stress level, probably helps our blood pressure. I can imagine it helps a lot of things to have an art practice.
Yeah, I absolutely agree.
For people who are interested in urban sketching and want to check it out, how would someone find urban sketching?
Well, the first thing would be to see if there is already a local group of urban sketchers organized near where they live. And so I would advise people to go to urbansketchers.org, which is the international website. And by the way, there are urban sketcher groups all over the world, I think on every continent. Here in Florida, where I'm wintering, there are urban sketching groups in almost a dozen different cities here in Florida. And the fun thing is, too, that I can get in the car and I can drive to Key West and look up the Urban Sketchers Key West group, and I will be welcomed with open arms at any group. I feel like I walk into an urban sketching environment and everyone there is immediately my friend. It is a tribe. You can go around the world. Urban sketching is extremely popular in Europe, across Canada, all over the United States. There are groups in Asia, Australia, anywhere you want to go. So if you don't find a local group, then take it upon yourself and try and start a local group. There's nothing that holds anyone back from trying to start. If you want to learn how to urban sketch and just get some technical skills, there are free tutorials all over YouTube. I really love how much there is available on YouTube because it also shows the breadth of styles among urban sketchers. I tend to work more in a realism kind of style because of my work as a plein air painter. That also, is more realism driven. But there are sketchers who are completely driven almost in a cartoonish style. Others work in a blend of that, which is a whimsical style. And some people add more abstraction. Some people create almost magazine layouts of different objects that they might see in a place, whereas other people will just paint one scene and add some documentation about that scene so you know where that scene can be found. It's a rabbit hole. Once you go down it, it's a fun rabbit hole.
As you were talking, I remember your coffee shop. I think it was the coffee shop series where you may have, and maybe I'm getting mixed up with some of your work, but you had objects and descriptions. Maybe it was a museum you were in or something, but it's like a magazine layout. So, what I love for anyone that wants to try this is what you're saying is there's so many different styles.
Yeah.
This morning, as I was thinking about our talk today, I was like, "Oh, man, I would really love to go to Paris with Tracy and sit in a coffee shop, a cafe, a French cafe, and s see what's out there, and do capture that energy and that vibe." And every place has a vibe, and I think to me that would be fun too, to go around all these different places and try that. Tracy's a traveler. She's been all over the world, and wouldn't it be fun if Tracy organized urban sketching trips? No pressure.
Sketching
Just an
safari.
safari.
Like surf and safari. We're going on a sketching safari.
Sketching safari. I love that. That sounds so fun. Tracy, where can they find you?
I have an Instagram. I'm really bad at using it, but just social media is just, it has its place, but I haven't figured out what my place is in it yet. I do have one. I believe that it is Tracy.d.McDermott.
If you'll send
Yeah,
it to
put
me,
it
I'll
in
put
the
it in the
show
show
notes.
notes.
I'll look it up.
Well, you can scroll through her feed, and she does have some of her urban sketching pieces there. And you can also search urban sketching on Instagram or Facebook and find lots of examples, lots of groups on there.
You
Well,
will certainly see a lot of my work on Urban Sketchers Twin Cities and Urban Sketchers Sarasota, where I am an admin in both groups. So I post there frequently, not so much to brag, but more to get people to share. Come on, we want more people to show their world one sketch at a time. That is the motto of Urban Sketchers International. Show your world one sketch at a time.
Tracy is the least person on the planet to brag. I promise you this. And so when she's passionate about something and shares something, you want to go check it out. So I'll put the links to these places that she's mentioning in the show notes so you can go check them out for yourself. I'd love to hear your comments if you're sketching, if you've attended urban sketching events, and any tips you have for listeners. Tracy, thank you so much for spending time with us today. I know you're off somewhere fun to sketch this week and that you're going to be in Chicago. So I love the "Where's Tracy sketching this week" idea.
Thank you,
In
Kath.
my
It was so much fun to be here. And, if anyone listening wants any advice or help, send a message. Kathy knows how to reach me. I'm happy to share any knowledge or assistance that I can.
Thank you, Tracy. We'll talk soon.
Oh, thank you. Bye
Mhm.
bye.